AFM, 27 past 11. Hey, what? I don't know who was that.
Who was that?
I think it was up on the roof. I think it might have been Santa.
Maybe Rudolph. Yeah, what's he doing?
Come in early, Santa. Let me in. No way. Too early, Santa. Go and have some lunch.
Absolutely.
That's it. Now,
Cookies and cream.
Speaking of lunch, Christmas Day.
Yes.
I mean, every table is just chock-a-block with a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Should we be looking at it and thinking, oh, I've got to have some of that, I'll have some of that, and some of that, and some of that. Is there a chance that could really muck up your body?
Yeah.
And you're not going to enjoy Christmas?
Yeah. Some people who really do suffer from chronic fatigue or chronic pain or autoimmune disease, these big meals where they're quite inflammatory foods, they can really stimulate the inflammation in the body again. So it can trigger pain responses that we're not expecting.
Yeah.
So therefore, for example, good old uric acid.
Yes.
Yeah. So when people get their
about uric acid. Yes.
Have you had gout? Just out of curiosity.
I used to.
Yeah, right.
I used to.
Okay.
I had a walking stick the whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the blood we do, you can actually see uric acid crystals, and occasionally, when they show up, and quite often they're much smaller than the size of the red blood cells, so those ones don't cause any pain. But once the crystals get quite big, then that's the sort of thing that's going through the capillaries and causing pain.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically an inflammatory meal with lots of sugar, lots of stodgy carbohydrates, that's the sort of thing that can make your bloodstream acidic.
Uh-huh.
So it's acidity that leads to high uric acid levels in the body.
Right.
So basically, when we have too much sugar, too much wheat, too much, the things we know, it's the 27th gingerbread cookie we eat, or the,
yes.
The third piece of tiramisu because it's there and it's got to be used up.
Well, you can't leave it there.
Oh, you can't leave it there.
You've got to have it.
But it depends on how our body responds. Now, some people get away with these things. They eat anything they want and they don't really suffer for it. But other people, that can cause pain that just doesn't tend to switch off again. So it's just an idea to think about the few little tips and pieces to keep those things first. So firstly, making sure there's a nice soup on the table that's delicious. Go a delicious soup, but that's going to be something to put into your stomach to sort of line the gut.
Right.
And if it's a high protein soup like lobster bisque, sorry, thinking of a Seinfeld episode there. But anyway, something quite yummy and delicious that feels quite festive, then it's going to help us to eat less down the track.
Uh-huh.
Don't put the breads out first.
Yes.
That's just one of those things. How often do you get there and there's there's a whole bunch of bready things on the table first.
Yeah.
And they're the things that they do just turn into sugar. So carbohydrates, so your flours, they turn into sugar in your bloodstream because they're carbohydrates. And they're simple carbohydrates. So that's going to make the bloodstream acidic.
So it all makes sense.
So if you're eating too much of those things, once again, if it's there and it's delicious, of course we're going to eat it. So push it on to, Paul J's side of the table.
Yes, if you don't mind, because I probably will have a little nap after Christmas lunch.
And isn't it funny that so many of us feel like a nap afterwards?
Isn't it funny?
Because,
just before the game of cricket over.
Yeah, the nervous system just sort of goes, oh my Lord, what are we doing with all this food? It's way too many calories. The body can't possibly deal with it. So the only way it can sort of deal with it is by slowing the metabolism down. It makes us tired.
Okay.
Which is sort of a hint for our normal life as well, because how often do people have, say, high carb, say a cereal for breakfast, which can generally be high carb, or say a sandwich for lunch, which is generally high carb.
Yeah.
Then you feel tired a couple of hours later. So many of us have carbs. We get that insulin hit immediately. So you go, yeah, I'm rocking, I got great energy. It's an hour and a half later we get the dip.
Bum, bum.
When you want to go and have a snooze. And of course the bosses don't like it when you want to snooze at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no, you can't do it.
Or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's when people often grab those chocolates. They grab the bickies. They grab the next little bit of carb so that they can raise their insulin again.
Well,
but of course, it's all happening quite subconsciously.
I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of chocolates, no matter where you are today, because it's the last Friday, except for the poor old shopkeepers.
Yes.
They're going to stay open over
Oh,
the
they've
weekend.
probably got a stash under the counter.
Have a chocolate.
Stash and a beer.
Oh, well, I was going to wait until the beer, but okay, if you've got one there, let's have one. What else should we be looking at?
Sort of thinking about the alcohol intake, sort of thinking about there are lower carb things if people need to look at this sort of thing. So with the beers, for example, there's beers like Big Head.
Yeah.
It's made down on the big head.
Big head.
Well, your ego is all there, Paul J. No, it's sort of so the big head beer. You've drank that before. It's made in
No, I
Burleigh,
haven't.
so it's made down the Gold Coast, and it's a Burleigh beer that has one of the lowest carbohydrate. So it's got the lowest amount of sugar in.
Right.
So basically, it says it's sugar free, but don't let that trick you.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar free and low carb are different things. So sugar free means there's no added sugar.
Right.
Whereas low carb means, of course, there's still calories in it because it's a beer. But I think things like big head beers, they've only got, like, say, 80 calories in, whereas a normal full strength beer might have, say, 160.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and most of in things like beer and wine, it's all carbohydrates. There's no protein in them.
Oh, of course not.
Do you remember that whole thing years ago about Guinness? I love a Guinness. Oh, I'm definitely Irish at heart, but I love a Guinness. But there was that thing that I used to hear where a Guinness was equivalent to a steak. There used to be this rumour going around about, it's not true. But there used to, it's not true. But it was a rumour that I'd heard for years and years and years. And I think last Christmas maybe I finally looked it up and I thought, what is that about protein in Guinness? And it's because of the way it was made hundreds of years ago. And it was a much different drink to what it is these days.
Right.
And it wasn't so much protein that was in it. It was just that the water and the water supply wasn't that great a couple of hundred years ago. So therefore people would have to drink things like wines and beers for brekkie and lunch, because it was... I know, it's sort of an interesting idea. You wake up, you swill your mouth with some wine and then off you go for the day.
No,
it's an interesting idea, isn't it? And what are those other beers that... No, I'm Naked Blondes?
Whorehouse.
Blondes.
No.
Is that the ones? Naked Blondes?
Naked Blonde.
Yeah. So they're
or
also...
just blonde.
Yeah. So they're also... I'm throwing the naked in. Well, I'm sounding like it today. So so those ones also are really low carb. But then if you're going the spirits, things like vodka, lime and soda, or gin and lime and soda. So that helps to keep the carbohydrate component really low.
Mm-hmm.
In case of vodka, lime and soda, from a naturopathic perspective, is one of the best ones.
Oh,
because it's very...
there you go.
Yeah, because it's very, very low... not alcohol. It's very low carbohydrate.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of sugar in it, so it's sort of one of the best ones. So of course,
what's
the lime.
that one again? What's that one?
Vodka, lime, and soda.
Vodka, lime, soda.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I know. Yeah, lots of my clients won't drink alcohol anyway, but it's sort of, if you just want to drink and you want something that's not going to cause too much harm, then that's going to be one of the goodies.
I guess that one of the big hints, if you're having a few drinks,
Yes.
have a beer or a wine, and then have a water.
Oh, got to keep that water up.
Have the water, and then you can have another beer.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, and you'll feel a lot better for it.
So you know why you get headaches after drinking?
No.
Your brain dehydrates.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
literally a brain, so, and then as we hydrate, and that's why, it's generally why things like Panadols and stuff don't work, because you've got to hydrate your brain again. So it's when people wake up in the morning and they just start sculling water that the brain starts to rehydrate.
Right.
Like it literally shrinks a bit.
There you go.
with
Does your head
alcohol.
shrink at all? when this happens?
Well, I think all the muscles around the skull tend to get really tight as well. So,
yeah.
that's why it feels like, someone's hammering there with the woodpecker.
Yeah.
Yeah, for hours on end. Yeah. So, absolutely. Do the old water drink. Yeah. And same with teas and coffees on Christmas Day as well. A lot of people just love their teas. And once again, if you're in air conditioning, don't let it trick you. Make sure you keep up that water as well.
Okay, so you can have a cup of tea, but that's not the equivalent to a glass of water.
No, it's not.
So what happens when you add the tea into the water? What is it?
It's because of two things. It's because of the caffeine and it's because of the tannins.
Right.
So the tannins they bind to the gut lining and they can actually stop your body from absorbing the iron and other nutrients.
Yeah.
So tannins are part of it, but it's also the caffeine. So caffeine is a diuretic, and diuretics make you pee. So
Wow,
therefore,
there
when
you
you're having
go.
your tea and coffee, you're actually going to be going to the toilet a little bit more, so that's dehydrating your body.
So
Whereas-
you should get directions to the toot on Christmas Day, so you know exactly where you've got to go.
Yes, absolutely. The third tree is the toity.
Oh, the third tree. Oh, the third one.
Sorry, that's quoting MASH.
Well, I just mentioned about the lemon tree. I'll just go out and check the lemon tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good for lemons too.
Yes.
And okay, well, listen, we might have a little break and we'll come back and talk some nonsense again.
Absolutely.
A bit more right here at